thanks very much, Roxana, for organizing this excellent session. And so my name is Anastasia Kartasheva. I'm currently faculty at the University of St. Gallen. Actually, my background is both academic and policymaking. Before coming to St. Gallen, I was for a long time with the Bank for International Settlements, working on international financial regulations in banking and insurance. And this presentation really will kind of naturally conclude. We heard that data brought a lot of opportunities and could be super exciting. We also heard that it brought a lot of like the dark side of data, you know, which is obvious from those images that were shared here. And finally, we also heard that, in fact, there are probably some markets that could help you to deal with those risks that come with opportunities that the data brings. And my presentation is really going to be looking more deeply into this market. So what I'm going to talk about briefly is my paper with Martin Elling and Dean Chen Nin, where we analyze the supply of cyber risk insurance, which, you know, as I said, so my background as regulator and the economist, you know, when you come around to this risk, which is clearly very new, emerging, you want to study it because it's an emerging risk, you know. And at first, I was really surprised that such a market could exist, but it does, and we basically try to understand how it works. So here, I even don't want to spend too much time. I think you already heard many times that the economic cost of cybercrime is running up. But what is interesting is that there is also an insurance market which actually is developing for this type of risk, you know. And that's a good news because from many other risks, you may think about hurricanes or floods or whatnot, or even car accidents. Actually, insurers are very important to, first of all, allow individuals and firms to transfer these risks. But not only that, and another extremely important function of insurers is that they actually produce information about risk. And they're essentially the business of insurance is really risk pricing. And by producing this information, they help the market, they help to firms and households to learn about risk and to manage it and provide incentives to mitigate the risks, you know. So that's a good news. But then the bad news is that, in fact, if you look at the size of this market relative to the size of the US market for the cyber losses, the exposure, the protection gap is huge. So it looks like it's really a good opportunity, but somehow it didn't take off. And really what was the puzzle for us to figure out why exactly it was not taking off. And these are the kind of research questions that we would like to address in this paper. So what are the supply factors that are restraining this cyber insurance market from developing? And in particular, what are the characteristics of cyber risks that actually prevent this market from providing more coverage and raising more capital? Okay? So these are the key issues. And what I would like to emphasize is that cyber risk is very special because it combines these three features that I have on my slide. So on one side, it has heavy tails and a lot of risk uncertainty, okay? But then you can say that that's not really a big issue because if you have an earthquake or if you have a hurricane, that's also quite a fat tail risk, right? So then, you know, and there are some ways to deal with it. Like if you have some objective risk like hurricane or earthquake, you can simply transfer it to the global financial market, which is even bigger than you know, the whole real estate market in Florida. Even if there is a very strong hurricane, they wipes it out completely. So that in itself should not really be a problem. Then on the other side, there are lots of these asymmetric information issues that are embedded in the cyber risk. And that comes both from the relationship between the policyholder, whoever wants to buy this protection, either a firm or an individual, and an insurance company, because it very much depends on how much that person or that firm invests in information security and protect, and like what kind of strategies they use in terms of being exposed to this risk. But also it becomes problematic for exchange of risk among insurance companies. Because in insurance, if you think about auto insurance, those risks are small, diversifiable, identical. So just by pulling them together, the insurance company can diversify quite well. But for most risks, it doesn't really work that way. And even for auto risks, usually you have some of this risk transferred to other insurance companies or to specialized reinsurance companies or to the global financial market, okay? So in case of transfer of the cyber risk, it's actually very tricky because obviously, first, the company that wants to transfer this risk externally, insurance company, is going to transfer the worst one. So that's a well-known problem of adverse selection. But not only that, but like also once they transfer the risk, they have very little incentives to monitor the company for which they provided this insurance in the first place. And the contrast with the hurricane example is actually very stark, because in that case, you don't really monitor the hurricane. It just happens so it doesn't. It's an objective risk. Like here, you actually, once you transfer it to the outside, you basically then can influence the probability of this risk happening by exerting less effort. So that's really is the key idea. And then the fact that this risk, like three features are combined in the same risk, result in the situation that on one side, if an insurer wants to provide capacity for the cyber risk, they need to have a lot of capital, and capital is costly. On the other side, this capital is very information intensive in the sense that they need to have a lot of information, like whoever investors are willing to provide you this capital, they need to have a lot of information about what exactly you are doing. So therefore, it's very difficult to pass it on to financial market for some passive investors or something like that, okay, who are not specialists in this market. And that's where we end up. And that's actually why or that's our interpretation why, going back to the first comments, like that's our interpretation why this risk is actually not really, like the capacity for this risk is not really that large. So then we dig deeper into what is exactly the type of capital that insurance companies are using for providing this risk, and we actually see that most of this capital comes from insurers themselves. So they don't really manage to find that much of outside investors to give them capacity. So here's, kind of the silver lining of data collection from the US regulators. So they basically started to collect this data on cyber insurance provided by US insurance companies, which is the biggest market for that. And that's what allowed us to study this question. And so here's just the snapshot of the market. So you see that the market is clearly growing, so then in this market we basically have two types of policies. They're called standalone and package. So in case of standalone, think about very large companies buying this risk individually, and then package as part of other risks. But what I'd like to emphasize, since I don't have too much time here, that this market is extremely concentrated. And then if you look at the profile of sellers in the market, they're going to be large insurance group, like Zurich Insurance, for example, the subsidiary, the US subsidiary, is one of the large companies. And then you have Chubb, you have AXA, you have AIG, like really the global market leaders that participate there, like for most of their market share, like the largest market share. So basically what we find in this paper then is we use the causal inference to exploit the regulatory change in the tax treatment and of some type of reinsurance in the US. I don't have time too much to go into detail, but basically we really show that the supply of this insurance is constrained by the internal capital market, meaning the capital that the insurance group has within its group, and therefore it's not really that much capacity that it gets from outside. And then we kind of dive deeper into what are exactly the factors of these three factors: heavy tails, information asymmetry, and uncertainty of the risk distribution that are relevant for this. And we show that all of them play a significant role.